Fallacy definition. Alright, hello friends, my name's Wire Guitars. This is the definition of a fallacy. And the reason that I mention that, a mistaken belief, especially one based on unsound arguments. And the reason that I tell you what the definition of a fallacy is because I'm sure that there's some of you out there that don't know what this means, and they don't realize, and the same people that probably don't know what this means probably don't realize that they're doing it often in their games in Dota 2. And there's a lot of relevance here with this term and your MMR. You just don't realize it yet, so I'm going to explain it to you. So there's a lot of you people using fallacies to describe why you lose games, and here's one of them. All right, it's slippery slope fallacy. A lot of you guys come to me and get coaching and shit, and then say stuff like, "Man, my team's holding me back." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then you're like, "Dude, like they go like 0-5 in the early game. We just lose the game outright." And I'm like, "Okay, let's slow our roll here a little bit. Okay, 0-5 is not a losing game. You should not assume that just because if we allow A to happen, that Z will eventually happen too, right? If your team feeds 5 early kills, that does not mean that you should give up all hope and abandon that game or go AFK farm the jungle for the next 30 minutes because your team is feeding, okay? That is not what that means at all. The slippery slope fallacy is one that I see often, all too often rather, in games that I coach, and it's disturbing how many people use this fallacy but don't actually know what the fuck they're saying, or the crap they're saying in their Dota 2 games. It kind of brings me to my next one, which is the false cause fallacy. There's a lot of people that assume, much in the same way the slippery slope fallacy is, that they just assume that like correlation is causation when they say my team always feeds and so I always lose my games. Or they say my team always feeds and I always lose my games, so I guess 1 and 1 or together equal 2, right? Like, because my team is feeding, I am losing these games. When in actuality, there's probably a lot of other factors that go into your games that can describe why you're losing the game. Not necessarily just that your team is feeding, assuming they are to begin with, you know. Especially if, like I said earlier, if you're the type to give up after 5 kills or 6 kills happen, you know, for your enemy, 6 of which you don't get any return kills for. Like, if the game is going 0-6 and you just give up on the game because slippery slope fallacy, then you're also very likely to say that you lose all your games because your team feeds, like in this situation as well, the false cause fallacy of just thinking that correlation of your team feeding is causation of you losing your games, which is not always true. Kind of brings me a little bit to my next point, and in a way, which is trying to like examine your own responsibility and take your own actions into account, right? Special pleading. A lot of times when people say, like, my team always feeds, we always lose our games, the reason that I lose my games is because my team is feeding. You look at their score on the game and you say, well, I just wanted to let you know, like, you're also 2-12 on Clinks. And they say, oh, it's okay, like, when I feed, it's a different story because my team's already fed, so it's very, very hard for me to not feed as well because the enemy is so much stronger than me because they fed off my team first, right? And all these other really bogus claims, like, oh, there's nothing I could have done there, but my teammate could have done something here, you know, etc. and so forth. Like, every one of my deaths is excusable, whereas my team is just out of position all the time and stuff like that. Like, you can do no wrong, but all of your allies are complete nimrods or something like that. Like let's be real here. Unless you're in like the 8K bracket or playing on pro games, right? Every single one of your deaths is probably a mistake, right? There's very few situations in Dota 2 that I could ever mention or recall where I'm just like, man, like, I don't think that guy could have done anything better and he still died. Like, very few times does that ever happen. The game is designed to make you feel as if you screwed up every single time you die. That's why you lose gold. That's why you spend time sitting looking at a gray screen, okay? Because you screwed up in some way, usually, if you died, okay? Don't try to say that it's different when you die because your team fed or something like that. Because even if there's an enemy TA that literally 2-shots you, right? Well, that's still 1 shot for you to get out of the way after she fires off her initial, right? And if they're 1-shotting you, then just stay away from them at all times and never get hit, right? Play it like Mario, you know, 1 shot and you're dead. Which brings me kind of to my final point here is the 2Q quo fallacy. This is, in short, this is basically fighting fire with fire. It's when somebody says that you're doing an incorrect thing, you just kind of lash back and say, oh, you're also doing an incorrect thing, right? When your team tells you stuff like, And I understand that this goes both ways, right? When you yell at your team for doing incorrect things and they yell at you back, enlisting in this fallacy, first and foremost, you probably shouldn't be yelling at them. So I guess, assuming that you're being polite in your criticism, if you genuinely tell your team, hey, I don't think we should have been out of position there, and they're like, oh, like you've been all game, then yeah, they're probably in the wrong. But it's your decision to fire back at that point, right? You could either turn the other cheek or you can open up the flamethrower, right? And that choice is always up to you. This fallacy is not so much what I get pissed about, because I don't have to deal with your bullcrap. When I'm looking at your replays or when I'm coaching you, I probably don't have to sit there and like play with you. You know, I'm watching you, I'm spectating these games. So I don't need to necessarily deal with the bullcrap that you're throwing at your team. But it definitely doesn't help your team play better if you can never be wrong and never take responsibility for yourself and never accept honest criticism of what somebody's saying about your play, right? If all you ever want to do is fight fire with fire, then you're never really going to become a better player, right? Unless you can, through some sheer miracle, assess your own mistakes and address your own self with criticism. But that's pretty hard for people to do. Generally speaking, especially if you're coming to me for coaching, you're probably coming to me because you can't identify the mistakes that you're making in your play, right? Many times people have come to me and said, hey, I want to show you a replay. I don't know what I could have done better, but we still lost the game, right? So that just means to me that you can't assess your own play from a mistaking standpoint. Like, you can't say I made any mistakes in this game. So don't come to me or don't come to your team and say shit like, guys, I don't know what I could do better. And they say, well, I think you could do this better. And then you say, oh, like you aren't doing this better, or oh, like this, or oh, like that. Like don't feel the need to lash out at everything that somebody says to you. Not everybody is trying to poke you with a pitchfork. Some people are trying to actually help you get better at the game. So that's it. That's kind of like the 4 logical fallacies that I wanted to kind of go over if I could. Those are just the ones that I see the most in coaching and also in watching replays. Like, I can't hear what you're saying. I can't read the text because it doesn't show allied chat. But you can kind of make some inferences when you troll your team or when you don't watch for your team, or when you don't, it's pretty obvious who the 2 or 3 people are in a game that are like kind of ragey, I think, just by their play alone. So try to make sure that person's never you, and I'll see you guys later.